Happening, troops, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Simply podcast. Today's guest I haven't known for very long. In fact, I almost kind of came across him accidentally just scrolling through YouTube, clicked on one of his videos, and I immediately after watching it, I knew I wanted him on the podcast. I just kept going down this rabbit hole of just watching his content, and it was amazingly well made. I really enjoyed watching every piece of it on YouTube, and eventually that made me branch out to Twitch. And within 5 minutes of being in this Twitch chat, I felt like I was a regular. I felt I'd been there for years, and it was just through the interaction between him and the chat. I absolutely loved every minute of it, and I can't wait to continue being involved in his streams going forward. He brings a lot of energy. He has a lot of content creators in his chat that he loves to celebrate their success and lift them up, and he makes you feel so welcome. So the guest I have today is none other than Lou, otherwise known as Landmine. How are we doing today, Lou?
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem at all. For those of you that obviously just here, Lou is not from the United Kingdom, who's usually my sort of the guest I've had previously. Why don't you explain whereabouts you're from for me today?
Well, I'm from New York City in the United States, obviously. Born and raised in Brooklyn, and currently now living in New Jersey.
All right, fair. I didn't know you were in New Jersey. Obviously, I went to the New York New York Red Bull Stadium in New Jersey. That was amazing. I loved that stadium. In fact, I actually love how generally in the States sports are done, because we parked up the car and there were people having barbecues in the parking lots.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm just like, yeah. This was like someone who brings a barbecue to a parking lot. Like, what's going on?
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I loved was when I was walking through, it's just everyone. We got invited to join people's barbecues and stuff. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I love the sense of community that happens around sport in the US. I absolutely love it. What kind of sports is it that you like yourself? Do you like soccer, football, NBA? What kind of sports are you into yourself?
So as far as soccer, football, or football, I've never watched a game in my life until recently, the World Cup, which apparently was, according to people, saying it was the best World Cup ever. And you felt the tension in those, I guess they're called penalty kicks, or I don't know, overtime kicks. I'm not sure the proper term, but it was amazing to watch. But I'm a big sports fan. I love baseball, basketball, and American football. Born into baseball culture. My dad was a big New York Yankees fan, so I fell in love with that sport right off the bat. And then I started to grow and play ball outside in the park, and I started watching other people play different sports such as basketball. And then that love grew really quickly. But that dream died because I'm only 5'7", so I can't really do much. Although
you're taller than me.
Yeah, although they're players who are my height or successful, I was good in school and in the park. But other than that, yeah. And then football, I fell in love with football in the early 2000s. I didn't know anything about it, American football, and just grew to love the sport. I love the strategy of defense and offense and plays, and just it really gravitated to me, man. I love sports. I watch it all the time. I'm always listening to sports radio, watching it on TV. So yeah, I love sports a lot.
Yeah, happy days. I mean, obviously, like when I played football, it was I was always a goalkeeper, and I loved being a goalkeeper. The problem is I'm 5'5", so when I eventually moved to the 11-a-side, the goals grew and I didn't, so I couldn't I couldn't reach the corners or anything like that. So yeah, it's yeah, the height was definitely hindered me a little bit, but it made me better when I went like kind of playing forward, and I could you had low center of gravity, was able to kind of dart in between people. And then eventually I decided when I started to learn to drive, I discovered drive-thrus and was no longer as fast as I was after McDonald's drive-thrus and Burger King drive-thrus. So yeah, it's unfortunately I lost that part, but yeah, just talking about yourself on this one. how obviously I've discovered you through YouTube and your content, and the first thing I discovered was obviously your streamer podcast with West, and that's what drew me in initially. That video straight away. I used to love. I still love watching streamer content and watching like kind of different types of gear and stuff like that. And it was different because it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before, and I absolutely loved it. And then, like I think you said in your stream, I went down the rabbit hole and kept digging, kept wanting to find out more about you. So first of all, it's like, I've just got to kind of ask, it's like how did you start content creation? How did we get to the point we are today, where I'm speaking with you today? So how did you get involved in Twitch? How did you get involved in YouTube? What inspired you to do that?
Well, first of all, thank you for finding my content and not just leaving. You actually stood and looked at all the content that I created there. But yeah, big shout out to M. Westby. He actually helped put a previous podcast that I had, which was called the Keep Gaming Podcast. He helped with a lot of the art design and the layouts and the overlays. And we met by mistake, but that's a different story. But he contributed to the Streamer Podcast. Originally, it was just myself. And I will have guests on all the time, different guests, but he was the only one that kept coming back and was really interested in doing it. So now it's our show. We do it together, and it's just been a true blessing to have him as a friend and a co-host. But as far as content creation, how I got into it, I always wanted to do YouTube as far as like making content, whether it be vlogs or tutorials, but it was really when I started to like play with the console of PlayStation 4, and they had this thing called streaming on YouTube, where you just get the PlayStation webcam and you stream directly from the console. You didn't need no PC or anything like that. And I was a big NBA 2K fan, so I said, let me give this a try, and let's see what comes out of it. I don't know what to expect from this. I don't know about communities or Discords. I didn't know anything. I was just like, I'm gonna go live, and my son can watch me because my son loves YouTube. And he was about 5 at this time. And I said to my son, hey, go to YouTube, type in this name. You're gonna see me live playing. And he couldn't believe it, and he was so excited. And I said, oh, this is pretty fun. But that didn't last long. I just got bored of NBA 2K, so that was the only game I was playing. So I eventually sold my PlayStation 4, and I got myself a camera, and I started making vlogs, and I was posting vlogs of my journey, whether it be with other content creators, photographers, videographers, or just friends or family. And
yeah, there was that one video you were showing on stream at one point. It was the one with I think you went to the magic shop with your friends and whatnot. So like on there, obviously your friends into making content and as well, yeah.
Yeah. We had went to B&H in Manhattan, where they sell it's like a Toys R Us. So if you guys know, like a big toy store for adults, you get lost in there. Anything from video games, cameras, lighting, DJ equipment, computers, you name it, is there. My friend Alex Ralph and Chris Felice were a part of the video. We went there only to exchange something, and it just turned into this crazy video where we went to a magic show, and then afterwards we went to the top of the rock to look over Manhattan and see the Freedom Tower and the Empire State Building. And it was a great experience, man. I had a lot of fun, and I always enjoyed making contact with friends. So that's something that I did, and it was short-lived. It was like 2.5 years of me doing vlogs, and I will say the reason why I stopped doing it is because it was very tiresome, where I felt like I had to do something, and a lot of the times I just wanted to stay home, and it really had me going outside when I was like, oh, what do I got to do to go make a video? When I just wanted to stay home and maybe watch videos or play video games, and that's when the whole vlogging stopped.
No, I completely understand it. I think that a lot of people, particularly I know, and myself, obviously, like life gets in the way. Yeah. Life just kind of hits you sometimes, and you're like, oh, I can't today. Can't switch that camera. Can't switch the microphone. Yeah. Can't press record. And you know what? It is fair enough. Some days, you shouldn't force yourself to do those things, because it can really deteriorate the mind sometimes when you do stuff like that. But yeah, it's a hard one with content, because you're very vulnerable and you're exposed on YouTube. People can really get to know you,
Yeah.
but sometimes you don't always want that. So it's kind of, I absolutely get exactly where you're coming from on that one. And can I just talking about kind of key moments, obviously, for yourself on content creation. One of the things I found amazing when I was doing my research was your podcast with your wife. Which is not very common, but I got to say I loved it. I love the fact that you and your wife were right into making this, and really gave it a commitment as well. You recorded quite a few episodes.
Yeah, we did 46. Yeah,
46 episodes. I mean, how did that come about then?
So I have a love for radio. I went to school for film and communications. Just to go back real quick and then come back. I grew up in a DJ family. I learned how to DJ at the age of 9, got my first pair of turntables around 11, and I was just very into music. But the thing wasn't just making, creating music or being a DJ, but it's being a host, right? And I just had the love of radio and just listening to people talk. And years down the line, I wanted to create a podcast, and I started making one where I was really just connecting with other musicians because I was into making music. I was a producer, songwriter, and I was meeting a lot of different artists, and I wanted to interview them. That's how my first ever podcast started. And then a couple years later, I began a podcast with my pastor. And then after that, I made a short one, just talking about tech. That didn't last. And I just kept on going. And then obviously meeting my wife, and at the time we were just dating. We weren't married yet. And I said, hey, we talk a lot. Do you think we can make a show where we share the kind of private conversations we have? Not all the conversations, because some of them we want to keep within each other for us. But I said, how would you feel? She's like, oh, I don't know. She's never done nothing like this. And she was willing to try. And our first episode we did was driving to Atlantic City, and it was just how we met, and that was a great conversation. And then as time went on, we kept on making more episodes, investing into the podcast, getting lights, a background, microphones, mixers, and it was growing, and people were actually enjoying it. And what made it stop for me, not so much for her, was the time consuming. Right. So I had to, and she helped me too, but she didn't really know much. I had to, get the camera ready, get the lights ready, get the background ready, because we're recording this in our living room, and we want the living room to be the living room, not the studio. So bringing everything up, breaking everything down, then editing it, and not only doing video, but doing audio like what you're doing here. And then not only doing the thumbnail, then the description, then I got to make clips. And it was time consuming. It was tiring. And I said, I just want to go to a place where I just press record and we start. But that turned into my stream. It wasn't until the pandemic hit, like for most of us. And then that's when I started to create this mini studio that's in my bedroom that you see today.
Yeah, it's really interesting as well, because it's like you've got a really nice quality camera, you've got a really quality mic, the background's really interesting. I mean, you were telling us when I was in the stream last week about some of the art that's on your wall, the kind of the pictures. Like one of them's got actually your hand in it, is it?
Yeah.
Am I right thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, it's right behind me. So those pictures are from my friend Chris Felice, and yeah, the bottom right one is my hand.
You just got your hand on the wall. I love it.
My hand holding the camera. But the reason why you can't see it because of the bokeh effect of the blurry background. But if you take a look at the image, it's a tattoo of my son's name, and because my son is autistic, there's a puzzle piece on my arm. So it's more like this is dedicated to my son kind of photo. And so it's a bunch of things, like a picture can say 1,000 words, and that's what that is.
Oh, amazing. I love it. And I love the fact you've got this great connection with your friends as well. Obviously, they love their content. The fact you've got that photographer as well. I'm not great with names. The photographer that your friend you went to go see an expo, was it? In one of the videos?
Chris Felice. The one that you said,
Yeah. Yeah, it was like that amazing. That was just such a good video because it really saw the connection between you and your friends. You know, your other pal also doing magic as well.
Yeah.
As well, it was just such a great video to see that connection there.
Thank you.
And it also that connection is also within your Twitch community as well. I really felt that when I was watching the fact that you really try and uplift everyone, and you know, you're sharing the moments on Twitch. You know, and obviously some of my moments are a bit questionable because I did a lot of stat clips, and stat clips were actually for a different website. So I was like, oh, so most of my clips are rubbish. But some of the clips we were seeing from some other people's streams, they'd also seen their setups as well.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And obviously with the setups as well, obviously you've got the streamer podcast with West. And you talk about kind of different types of streaming gear and stuff like that. And so how did that channel come about?
So I had, so when I started streaming, I wanted to create a podcast where I had conversations with other streamers, which was called Streams on Streams. I started that podcast with a good friend of mine that I've known for years. His name is Fresco. And we had some creative differences and we still remained friends, but I continued the podcast. And then that podcast turned into Keep Gaming Podcast, where I had a couple of my other friends. Chris Anthony at the time was MiyamoCG, Johnny Boombots, and Paulful, who we added later on. That was, I want to say, 42 episodes. And then I stopped doing that podcast because it was, again, a lot of work. But this time, not as much as when I did it with my wife. I wanted to do something that was short form, straight to the point, and dedicated directly to streamers. Preferably streaming topics, streaming gear, not so much tutorials or unboxings, but just the conversations, kind of like what we have on an everyday basis with other content creators. Like, oh, did you see that new product? Yeah, so what'd you think? And I said, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that conversation in a podcast form, in about 10 to 15 minute conversation where you get in, you get out, and you got some information, you got some opinions, you may have gotten some recommendations or advice. So that's how that started. But like I said, M. Westby came later on, and I was like, man, you're doing so many episodes with me. I appreciate you working with me, helping me create the overlays, giving me ideas. Would you really want to be a part of this journey? And he said, yeah, let's do it. And that's just how it turned. And now, you know, we've worked with Gal Level, who is on YouTube and one of the first creators that I watched to help me create content. We worked with Twitch partners such as Gal Level. I mean, not Gal Level, well, Gal Level too, but Lord Val Gaming, who is now Val. We worked with people who are growing on TikTok, LT Smash, and we continue to work with other content creators that are big in the Call of Duty Warzone community, such as Crazy Eye, or that are growing Judo Red. And we just keep adding like friends. I've had Fresco back on it. I had my friend Chris on it, my friend Jovi, and so much more. And we just keep doing that. We're working with other content creators that we want to bring in that never been on the show before. So it's just a conversation with content creators and streamers.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's kind of the content I love to consume on YouTube. I mean, one of the people I absolutely love, I don't know if you're familiar, he's just changed his name on YouTube. It was originally Alpha Gaming, but it's now changed to Senpai Gaming, and I absolutely love every one of his videos. Everyone, I'm pretty much near enough the first 10 people to watch it. So it's like, it's just the kind of content I love to consume. And like I said, that's kind of the way I've maybe come about your videos, is because obviously the algorithm, as everyone loves to say, is, oh, this is the type of video you might like. So I think that's kind of how I came across that. And it's just one of the things that kind of stood out for me, and the kind of content that you were making, is the production level that you put into it. Because it isn't just the case of, like, I'm not gonna lie, my editing at the moment, I'm still learning it. I'm still although I have a qualification, and I got that qualification back in what was it, 2014, I think, and I didn't use it until pretty much the last year.
Wow.
And obviously back then, software has gotten significantly better. So it's I'm trying to relearn it all again myself, and it's been a bit of a struggle, so I'm learning that. So kind of one of the things I always look out for when I'm looking at people's content is the thought process and the production value of the editing, and I absolutely loved the way you edit your content.
Thank you.
Yeah, and particularly it was like the short form content as well that you did. Like what was our watch? It was the unboxing of the Elgato
The Stream Deck Plus.
Yeah, Stream Deck Plus. It's just like just a little bit there, and then also on your stream, all your sound effects and the effort that you put into your bots. Like you've put in so much effort, and it really comes across that you really, really care about what you've produced. I mean, how did you come about learning, obviously, the editing that you now do?
So the editing pretty much was very easy for me. I had mentioned earlier, I went to school for film, so I learned in 2000 and I'm showing my age now. 2006, 2007, when I was in college. I originally went to college for a business major, but quickly got bored and said, I want to do something that I enjoy. And
that's amazing, considering you're only, what, 22? 20?
I wish. I'm 35, man. But I'm a kid at heart. I still love video games like the rest of us, and some people will say, oh, that's something that a kid would do, do something your age or act your age. And to me, I'm acting my age, man. I have a great time. It's a way for me to escape reality. But to get back to your question, creating content wasn't easy at first, because it was like, what do I make? But when it comes to editing, I've always had this idea of how to put things together, so to speak. And it all started in college, and putting things together, editing things, making, I watch a lot of films, so I get a lot of ideas or inspirations from some of my favorite directors, like Martin Scorsese, or there's just so many people I think in my mind, George Lucas.
There was one I watched recently. What was it? The Justice League one. Was it
Zack Snyder?
Yeah.
I love his earlier stuff. I don't I don't like what he did with the Justice League, but I don't like what WB did with DC anyway. So that's another story. But yeah, I'm very inspired by a lot of the directors that I've watched and the films that I watch and actors that I watch. I love entertainment. I love creating. And all that stuff came from that inspiration from when I was a little kid. Just the idea of, connecting with people. And that's really why I started streaming, was to connect with others, build a community. And we've been doing that. I've been streaming almost now 2.5 years. But the journey has been an interesting one, because there's been a lot of changes between my name, different accounts, where I deleted an account completely and started a brand new one. And that account was growing within, I want to say, less than 6 months. I was already growing to almost 500 followers on Twitch. But I completely just deleted it and said, you know what, I'm going to start brand new. I'm going to rebrand. And that was a struggle, but it was all a learning experience. But when creating content, especially with like the soundboard, using the Go XLR and the production, like you mentioned, all that stuff didn't happen overnight. It took time, investing in a good camera, good lens, lighting, audio, all that stuff was important to me. I feel like when people come to see you, you want to make a good first impression. And I did with you, obviously, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here. But that's all important to me. Whenever someone comes in, I want them to feel like they're hanging out, and they don't need to be a friend with me for more than a couple months. Immediately they feel like they've been here, like you mentioned. They feel at home, so to speak. And I always mention too to people, like, I don't really look at numbers as inspiration, so to speak. People really could get how do I say, they get intimidated by the numbers, so to speak, where they see maybe 5 or 6 viewers or even 1 viewer in their stream, and it can be stressful, and I don't want that to be an issue. I look at it as, if there's one person, 5 people, 20 people, you are all hanging out with me in my home. Before this whole streaming thing, when we used to play video games in each other's houses, we would just be sitting in the couch. I can only imagine if I had 5 friends in my house playing with me, I would be like losing my mind, like, oh, my friends are here, I can't believe this. I look at it in that aspect, where if there's 10 people, 5 people, 1 person, you're here hanging out with me in my house, chilling on the couch, we're just talking shit, having a good time, and that's how I look at it, man. It's just a way for me to connect with people at the end of the day.
So, if you had to tell kind of Lou before like younger Lou when he was just starting out content creation,
Mm-hmm.
what would you tell him?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm really nosy. I love to know everything about people.
I never
so
really thought of that because it's still so young in my journey, right? Like I'm only 2.5 years in. I think the one thing that I will say is do what you want. In the beginning, I started off as a Warzone streamer, and a lot of my friends were saying, oh, don't play Warzone. It's oversaturated. You're not going to get a lot of views. And in my mind, I wasn't thinking like that. I was just thinking a way for me to have fun and play with my friends. But I then tried different things, which wasn't a bad idea, just to try different things and play different games and meet different people. So I started playing different games. I started playing old games, retro games, new games. It was just me trying different things. But I would tell my younger self, my 2.5-year-old self, do what you want, have fun, whether it's just chatting or playing games. Do what makes you happy. But keep in mind, when you're doing these things, make it an effort to create content out of that. In the beginning, it was really hard for me to find like great moments, and I wouldn't post anything on social media for weeks. Grab great moments and show the world why they should be watching you.
Yeah, that is a great answer. I love that, because it's like we all get. It's kind of a big. Social media is kind of like where everyone has their own opinion on something, and when it comes to content creation, people will always tell you that you're doing it wrong in some way or another, and realistically it's you that's making it. It's not them that's making it, it's you. And although I am very much in agreement where the audience is right, if you're not enjoying what you're making, it's not sustainable. Most definitely. I mean, this was one of the reasons I made this podcast, was the fact that I have deemed that I am not a gamer. I have tried multiple times. I mean, particularly Warzone. I cannot play shooter games. I am awful at them. I am semi-decent at FIFA. I would say I'm half decent at that, but that's like the only game that really comes to mind that I am. I mean, Pokemon I'm not awful at, but I get laughed at whenever I say that, because I wouldn't do a competitive team. But it's everyone thinks they could be a chef, but you're the one cooking. So it's kind of everyone's got to tell you that what you should be doing. But at the end of the day, it's you that makes those decisions. It's you that is producing this tasty content-created meal that everyone's digesting. So there's a metaphor for you. Okay, I call that on the top of my head. I like that one. No, absolutely. Like I said, like one of the things I love the way it got is how well it was produced. But with this as well, obviously we touched on it just slightly beforehand. Obviously with content creation, it does take its toll. I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about your life outside of content creation. Obviously, you're married, you've got kids, like kind of obviously talk a little bit about like what was Lou like before content creating. What were you doing before? What do you do to kind of chill out as well outside? What do you do to wind down?
So I'm married 2 years now, will be 3 years in September, and my wife and I met on Tinder. You can find that on the Sorry for Interrupting podcast with my wife. It was weird how we met.
Best way to meet people these days, isn't it?
Essentially, and again, this is not a secret because I've talked about this on my stream. We've talked about it on the podcast. Both her and I were there for the wrong reasons. I was there looking to hook up with someone. She was there looking to speak to someone. And I told her, you're on the wrong app. This is not where it's done. I had just come out of a relationship with my son's mother, with her for 5 years. And I was in a very dark place, very depressed. And I was just looking for an escape. So I figured, let me go on some dates, meet some new people. and I was doing that, and then I met my wife, and it was weird because I wasn't looking to marry anyone. I wasn't looking to be in a relationship with anyone, and it just so happened that we just clicked, man. We vibed so well, and it was like it was different from the other dates prior to her, and it was like an actual friendship. It was weird, and we just kept talking, and then eventually we started dating, and then we got married. But she has twin girls, and I have one son, so that can be a bit difficult whenever you're blending these families together. And my son is younger than the girls. They're 12 now. My son is 10. But it's different because it's a boy. The boy wants to do boy things. The girl wants to do girl things. And then because they're 12, they're a little bit more mature. They're into makeup and fashion. My son is into dinosaurs and games. Excuse me. So that there is a difficult task to manage, and it still is. We're not perfect, but we try our best as a family to come together and do things together. And like any marriage, there are difficult times, there are good times, but we stick together and we fight through it, and we are essentially a team. And I mentioned that because before starting streaming, my wife was very supportive and still is to this day of me pursuing this dream of mine. And there are times where I won't be going to family events. There'll be times where I won't be spending time with the kids or her because there's a priority to not only my family, but creating content, doing my podcast or streaming or doing collaborative streams with other people such as yourself, or just networking with people. And she understands that. And sometimes I know people personally that it's difficult for them because their significant other, their spouse, or whatever the case may be, may support them in a sense where they say go do what you want to do, go have fun. But when it comes down to, hey, we're gonna go out with the family today, we need you to be there, and the person's like, whether it's a he or she, they'll be like, I have a schedule, I'm gonna be streaming. Well, that's not gonna happen today. I feel bad, I try to be open with my wife, and I let her know in advance, because we'll talk about like, hey, listen, in a month we're gonna be doing a gathering, sometimes in a week or so. Are you available? She will say like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'll say, yeah, I'm available. Like, I don't have anything planned. And that's the perfect like medium where like we communicate. I think that's very important. We talked about that in the stream that you were in, obviously, and my wife was there too. Someone had asked about what really makes a marriage work, and we both said it. It was like weird. She wrote it in chat, and I said it while streaming.
It was amazing because I was in the chat, and you literally said it. I'm not even joking. At the exact same time, it was you. I genuinely got this feeling that you really are a team. You really are. You like the communication is just there. Which it was amazing. It kind of gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling almost with it being in stream. And what I love as well is what you were saying about the Tinder thing, the fact you weren't really looking for anything, and like you both weren't looking for anything, but you just kind of found each other. And you hear that a lot. You hear that a lot where people don't particularly look for anything, and then it just kind of happens. I mean, obviously. You touched on it slightly, because this is something I didn't know about you, obviously. The fact that your wife had two girls, and obviously you had the son. Does that create a lot of friction within the family? The fact that you've got these two families combining, does that cause you a lot of bother that way, or do they get on absolutely fine? These kids, because I know obviously that could be quite a challenging one.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Because obviously I'm not their biological dad. They're not my biological girls, daughters, but I still reference them as my daughters whenever I talk about my kids. And sometimes it can be difficult. My son can get on their nerves, and they could get on my son's nerves. That's just what siblings do. My brother got on my nerves half my life. Same thing with my sisters. It's just what siblings do. It's not always gonna be sunshine and rainbows. But my wife she is amazing. Let's just put it like that. She does so much for the family, not only for me but for the kids. And there are times that she will take on, and I don't want to call it a burden, but she'll take on a challenge where, listen, I'm gonna take the kids out. You do what you got to do. I'm going to take them to my sisters, or I'm going to take them pumpkin picking, or I'm going to do things with them. And I love that, where she bonds with not only with her own children that she gave birth to, but to my son who she never gave birth to, who she met halfway through his life. And I love that. And I always told her from the beginning, you are better than me. You have more patience than I do. You're more loving. You're more caring. Not that I don't love or care for my kids, but there's just something that is just within her that I've never experienced before in a woman. And she like the super mom to infinity. Like, it's just an amazing thing. She cooks dinner. You know how like you cook dinner, it's just one meal. No, my son's a picky eater. I'm a picky eater. Her daughters are eating something. She'll make like 5 different meals, literally a meal for everybody, right after she got out of work. And then she'll still have time to spend time with them. I don't know how she does it. I give her all of the praise. She's just an amazing human being.
Honestly, it sounds it really does. And if she's listening to the podcast, kudos to you, because it's. From what I'm hearing from Lou here, it's sounds like an absolutely amazing woman, and I love to hear stuff like that. I really do, because obviously I got that vibe as well from the stream as well. Obviously the fact that she even pops into the stream as well, she's got time for that as well. Does she ever game or anything like that?
No. I've told her, I said, man, I wish you were a gamer, so that way we can play together. But I think it's probably best that she's not. Because it gives us time alone to do our own things. She's very into reality TV, and she loves watching her shows, where I'm very big into gaming and supporting other streamers and gamers, and really just networking with people. So, for instance, like last night, let's say we watched the show, we finished the show. She went and started talking to her sister on the phone. I immediately came to my desk and started playing some Warzone. We need that time together. We can't always be on top of each other 24/7. We need our own space. So if she was a gamer, it would have been different. Then she would have came here. Then we'd start playing, and it's like, oh man, I need a breather. You should go play over there, But because she's not, it's cool. It gives us the opportunity to do our own thing.
Amazing. I know. I love how honest you are with this stuff as well. You're like me. No barriers at all. You just absolutely ask me anything. So I love that there. And obviously, I kind of touched on a little bit. Kind of the kind of challenges you face with making content. Obviously, kind of like I said, touched on it briefly. You get a lot of people that say it's like for kids, as you say. It's like, oh, this isn't an adult thing to do, to play games, but realistically, I feel like the stigma behind it is definitely improved over the last kind of 10 years or so, but beforehand it definitely was very much if you're an adult then 10 years ago playing games, it was kind of like come on now, you really need to get on with the actual life stuff, working and stuff like that. As so I've got to work 24 hours a day, do I? So it's but it's definitely improved now. I think obviously the likes of YouTube has helped with that massively, with the likes of seeing the successes, and you look at a lot of gaming YouTubers and the success that they've got. But have you experienced many things with your content creation where you've faced the kind of stigma, going, right, come on now, Lou, let's give this up?
Of course. Our families are like, this is what we know, right? We grow up, we have siblings, we have cousins, uncles, aunts, mothers, fathers. And as we're growing up, they kind of have like a vision for you, so to speak. Like, this is what you should be doing, especially in a Hispanic culture. You're supposed to be hardworking. You get a job or you get a second job and you provide for your family. And all those things are great. I've been working since I was like 12 years old and always had a job.
So just briefly to interrupt there, what kind of work is it you do now?
Right now, I work, I always call it, I'm a glorified party planner for a college that I work at. So I work very closely with students and the clubs at the college, and we help them do events, meetings. We also do meetings and events for the faculty and staff of the college as well, and just putting things together pretty much. And it's great because it gives me an opportunity to meet the younger generation. And it's funny whenever we do meetings and I introduce myself and I tell them what I do outside of school, I tell them that I'm a streamer, all the kids go crazy. They're like, you're a streamer. And I'm not even a big streamer. Just the fact that I can connect with them and they're like, oh, you play games? Like, yeah, I play games. And then they'll say, oh, what game you play? And then when I tell them Warzone, oh, everyone goes crazy. And then they, oh, what's your KD? Oh, how many wins you got? And then I tell them, and then some of them, they want to challenge me. Oh, you ain't that good. And I'm like, all right, well, meet me on the battleground. Let's fight this out. But it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm so grateful to work at the college that I work with and connect with the students, man. It's just something that I enjoy doing. So it's like I'm doing it on stream with other people, but then I'm in real life connecting with the younger generation. It's great.
Absolutely. So yeah, just to bring it back to before, and you were talking about obviously the kind of family and whatnot. We were obviously talking about the kind of stigma. I just wanted to ask obviously about your job there, because I heard about it briefly on Twitch, but I hadn't heard it in full detail obviously at the time. So no, that was really interesting, and thanks for answering that. But yeah, if you just crack on again, what you were saying obviously with your family and obviously kind of the stigma, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So my parents, my mom and father, my mother and father, they got a divorce. They separated around, I don't know, like 9-10 years old. I was growing up with my dad. I lived with my dad. Excuse me. And my dad was hardworking, man. Both my mother and my father hardworking. They recently just retired. My mom retired last month. They're working 30 plus years at the same job. Hardworking people, really look up to them and inspired by their hardworking, ways and their work ethic and how dedicated they were to their job. And I was inspired by that, and I always wanted to do that and make them proud and work really hard. Not that I don't work hard now, but my dream or my passion has always been different from than just getting a regular 9 to 5. And I'm not saying a 9 to 5 is bad. It's just not what I wanted to do. I felt so creative, and I still do feel creative to this day, that I can do more than just a 9 to 5, so to speak. And that's why I went to college for film. And like I said, I originally went for business management. At the time, I was going there for my grandfather, because my grandfather wanted to open a business, and he wanted it to be a family business. And he said, I want you to go to college for this. And immediately, my first year in, I said, Grandpa, this is not for me. I'm not having fun. And he immediately told me, do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. And that's when I went into film, and I loved it. And, working hard and being passionate about the work you do has always been something that resonated with me, and why I chose streaming and content creation, because I just love creating things. And I feel like if I'm not doing that, anytime I'm away from my battle station, so to speak, or my desk, I feel like I'm losing time. I'm big on time. I feel like I wish I had more time, and we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and there's no excuses. But anytime away from creating, I feel like I'm wasting time. And as a content creator, I don't think many people would understand that. So when they look at you, or they look at me, so to speak, they're like, oh, you should get a real job. This is not a real job. You should really put in perspective about getting health insurance and 401k and saving and really doing for your family. You're married now, be a responsible young man. And I'm like, yeah, I hear all that. I said, but my family are doing fine. We have a roof over our head. We have clothes on our back, food in the fridge. We may not be living the lifestyle that you want from me, but we're happy where we are. Can we do with more? Of course. But we're doing with what we have, and we're grateful for it. We're blessed, and I'm thankful for all the love and support I get from my peers and my friends and the Twitch family and the party animals in the Discord. Like I couldn't ask for more. And it's crazy because my parents, they support, so to speak. They're living their own life, and occasionally from time to time they will pop into my stream, which a lot of my other friends and other streamers, they don't have that luxury. I'm very grateful and thankful for that. but I know deep down they're like, man, I wish Lou would have really become a cop or he would have done something more. And I understand, but like I'm a father and I will want anything that my kids make them happy. I want them to do it. I would never say, please go to college, become a dentist or a lawyer. Literally do what makes you happy, because you only have one life and you don't want it to be wasted on something that you don't really love and enjoy.
No, absolutely. I definitely resonates, especially the part where you were saying about the fact when you're away from your desk part and you feel like you're losing time. And it's like, I definitely got that. But in all honesty, myself, it was kind of like, so I have 2 separate rooms. So I have this room, which is my office, and then I have my bedroom, which is the other side of the wall. And I needed that divide because I found myself that I would spend every second of the day at this desk looking to create something and burning out constantly. So for me personally, I had to have that divide. So I know when I'm out of this room, although I may be thinking about content creation, I'm letting those ideas fester, and then eventually when I come to the desk, they all come to kind of fruition, and kind of I create something then. And it's I needed that kind of divide, because once I got that divide where right, okay, so out there, that's the world, I'll go out and do things, watch TV. I don't watch any movies or anything in this room. I don't watch TV, and I might watch like the football when it's on. But if I have the option to watch it in another room, I will go watch it there. I only use this room for content creation, and when I'm in here, my mindset is focused. I have to focus on content. And that's helped me massively, having that break, because during the pandemic, and I'm going to touch on a video you did during the pandemic, where I had so just a little bit of clarity for, because you won't know this about me. So I have a brother and a sister. My sister's married and living away, but my brother this used to be his bedroom, and during the pandemic, he the first one, he was in this room, so I only had the option of my bedroom across in the other room, and it was a very cramped corner I had. I had a corner desk, which I actually cut in half so that I could fit it into this corner. It was very, very scuff is probably the best way I could describe it, to be honest. The desk was never meant to be the way it was, but I made it that way. And I kind of, my monitor was wobbling every time you hit the desk. It would shake like mad. It was very jank, but it worked for that period of time. And eventually, during the second lockdown, my brother moved down south to go be with his girlfriend at the time. And I asked Mum, can I have this room? I need this room for content creation and stuff like that. And eventually she agreed. And then this is kind of growing from there. Then my brother is back. I should add, if for those of you that don't know, my brother is a talent agent. He finds content creators and gets some sponsorship deals.
That's awesome.
But my brother,
I hope you're watching.
Yeah.
What's your brother's
name? His name is Fraser. So believe it or not, he actually watched one of my podcasts. So I mentioned before the Chufters one.
Okay.
And he then he didn't recruit him, but he managed to get him sponsorship deals. Awesome. After watching that podcast, and my ego went through the roof when he told me that. I was like, "See that guy, Chuffs? Does he have any representation?" It's like, "Well, no, but I can give you contact. I can put you in touch with him. I know a guy."
Awesome.
So that was one of the highlights for me, and he knows it. And my brother is a very grumpy person. He won't actively admit it was partially due to me, but. Yeah, that's I mean, he's self-made. He made
awesome.
that career for himself. But who knows? Maybe another podcast he'll watch and look to offer deals to people. I think he's now higher up now, so I think he's got minions to do that. Okay. But I don't really know. He doesn't really tell me too much about his job anymore now. Like I said, he's very grumpy. But yes, kind of. Obviously, I said I was going to touch on this. There was one video that you produced that I loved, and I didn't watch the whole of it, but I got a really nice warm fuzzy feeling from it. But it also really made me think about the pandemic, and it was the one where the video titled "How are you?" I think it's how are you, how are we, or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was how are you, and it was the fact you were just checking up on all these people, and I absolutely loved that video because it just showed the how much you kind of cared for all the people that in your life. It made you kind of appreciate the people that you have in your life, and how did that video idea come about? Did you let the people you were ringing know that they were on camera, or did you just go, oh, I wasn't sure if you just put the camera up and
No, this was all thought out. So obviously when the pandemic happened, it was in March of 2020. My wife's birthday is March 20th, and we had plans to do an amazing birthday week. We were gonna go see a Broadway play. We were gonna go to the movies. We were gonna have dinner in this nice restaurant. And as time was going on, we were not really like the rest of the world, kind of like we weren't really taking what the news was telling us serious. My wife at the time was working at a hospital. So, she was hearing things too, but it wasn't as serious at that time in was it February? Like in February, we're hearing rumblings, January, we're hearing rumblings, but it wasn't until March where things started closing down. And, my wife and I were like, is this really going to happen? And I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, well, I mean, we're fine, right? Like, we haven't met anyone or heard anyone getting sick or anything like nah. And then one after another, the Broadway play was like, we're shutting down. I was like, oh, wait, this is getting a little serious. Movie theaters shutting down. I'm like, okay, now this is really serious. Then they just started shutting down businesses all over the United States, all over the world. Schools started shutting down. And then even like our jobs, like my wife was going to work in these like full body suits, testing people and really out there. And like I said, she's an amazing individual at home, but even at work, she was doing things that I couldn't even imagine. And she just really pushed through, man. She really, like, from work to home, dealing with the stuff she was dealing with, and then to come home and then really like try and be a mom. And it was really tough. And like, I can only imagine what she was going through emotionally, mentally. It takes a toll on you. And when it was getting later into the whole pandemic and everything just shut down, I was like, you know what? I'm always asking my friends and family how they're doing. How about I make a video and really ask them what's going on and give us their perspective. One of my best friends that I've known since I was 12 years old, I asked her how she was doing. You guys could watch the video too. She's a school teacher, and then she has to teach from home, and that was difficult for her because she even explains it in the video where she's trying to get the students' attention. These are young children, but they're home, so they're in the comfort of their own home. They have their toys, and it's really difficult.
I think I remember seeing that bit, and it was like the fact that sometimes they were bringing their toys up to the camera wanting to show, and it just like it's not something I ever actually thought of, but then when she said that, I was like, you know what, it's difficult. I was like, geez, that really is difficult. But like I said, it was a really good video to watch. I really enjoyed that video, but like I said, it wasn't just the fact that I enjoyed it, it also really made me think. And it's like, because like even during the pandemic, I should have at the beginning of the pandemic in February, I was one of the first people to kind of isolate in Scotland.
Wow.
Because I was working for Nike at the time, and it was said that it was allegedly that it came through Nike, but I don't believe it for a second. But I was in contact with someone that had it very early on, and back then it's like when you really think about it, it was like we didn't know an awful lot about the pandemic then, and back then all you're hearing is about this potentially very deadly disease, and then I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going through every zombie movie that I know of and going, oh no, like what's gonna happen? I'm thinking like, I'd do all right in a zombie apocalypse, but then what happens if I become the zombie in the first place? So I'm just gonna you don't really think about it until it actually hits you. Eventually I did catch COVID, like I only caught it like last year.
Wow.
Which is mental considering I worked in retail for the whole pandemic. But it's kind of mental that way. But yeah, I was going to ask you, obviously we're talking about kind of challenges there. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit on the content creation side. And what would you say are your biggest highs? Any moments in particular that kind of stick out to you that these this is a moment that I really cherish in content creation. Like when this happened or anything, is there anything that really springs to mind for you?
Yeah. So one was connecting with Gal Level. Finally sitting down and talking to him. Even before I hit the record button, we were just having a normal conversation as if we knew each other for some time, and that was great. And I connected with him prior to that through his stream, and it was really cool. And then getting raided by Val at the time was Lord Val Gaming. He found me on an app that you can't find anymore called Hover, and he decided to raid me because he felt my energy was great. He loved my clip, and he brought his community over, and it was the biggest raid I ever received. I think it was like 60 people, and at the time I wasn't expecting that. I was so caught off guard, and that to me was like a highlight for me, because for you to watch one clip, decide this is the guy you want to share your community with, meant a lot to me, man. And we became friends ever since. We've collaborated. He's been on the podcast, like I said, and he's just a great dude. So that's one of like the high moments. And another one, and you mentioned his name earlier, Harris Heller. I actually was in one of his videos, and it's weird, but he didn't do it. He was doing a sponsorship with Blurp, and Blurp had a video of me, and it just so happened to be in his video. And I asked him about it on Twitter, and he responded, and I was like, okay, something's happening here. Blurp sees me, Val seeing me. I'm talking with Gal Level. So Harris Heller, if you're watching, please join us on the Streamer Podcast. But yeah, it's
I love it.
it's
Harris Heller, if you're watching as well, please subscribe. You know,
Yes.
and listen, see you as well. See, yeah, you that I'm talking to right now. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Cheers, thank you. Right, yeah. No, that's amazing. I love that. And obviously talked about the highs. Any lows in particular?
course.
Yeah. Well, any
Yeah.
lows that stand out to you? Like any low moments that you felt, oh, I might not do this anymore? Or is it like any like, oh, I wish that hadn't happened? Moment that you can think of to your head.
Yeah, before I even went live. So I was playing Call of Duty Warzone on my PlayStation 4 at the time, and I was really trying to find a way. And I feel like this is still a big issue for content creators who are using their PlayStation to present content on Twitch, right? There's no way to bring in your game chat while you're streaming on a PlayStation. My only alternative, which there's like 4 or 5, but the best one was really investing in an Astro A40 headset with the Mixam Pro. I didn't want to pay $250 for that, but I ended up doing it anyway because I wanted the stream to hear my friends playing with me, and otherwise you couldn't have done that. There's like a two-way audio that PlayStation disables where Xbox allows it. I don't know why PlayStation did this, but anyway, I had to invest in this thing, and breaking my head and diving deep into trying to find a cheaper alternative literally almost made me quit. It's like, if I can't have my friends be heard on stream, I don't even want to stream. And man, I was really about to quit before I even started. And shout out to my wife. She really pushed me. She said, no, this is what you want. This is what you've been working on. You're going to do it. We're going to get it for you. And this is what we're going to do. And I'm telling her, like, you know, this is when the pandemic started. I had lost my job and it wasn't really getting income at the time. And I'm like, where are we going to find the funds? I just came out of debt. I don't want to put myself in more debt. I just bought this PC. And it's like, she's like, I got it. We did it. And man, it made me really appreciate, you know, her more than ever. Not only just for that, but her support to really push me. But I've had other moments other than that where I wanted to quit. I actually stopped streaming on Twitch because I felt like I couldn't enjoy gaming. I had this problem where I was streaming video games, but I wasn't really diving deep into the game. I wasn't getting to become one with the game and really dive into the story and the characters. So, you know, it's hard to stream, talk to chat, get involved in the game. It's just very distracting. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing Twitch no more. I'm going to go to YouTube. I ended up going to YouTube and I started making videos of gameplay videos. And I legit left Twitch for a month, was doing YouTube. I gave it a try, not going live, just posting videos. And I said, man, I really miss communicating and connecting with the community. And that's when I went back to Twitch. And it was a lot of these moments where like, am I even good enough? Why am I doing this? And I started to realize that, nothing happens overnight. Although, yes, you'll see some overnight celebrities happen and they just get to stardom out of nowhere, and that's great. But for the most of us, and I always compare it to working out, you're not going to get those six-pack abs overnight. It takes time. It takes discipline. It takes training. You got to put your reps in. And although I'm only 2.5 years in, I'm still learning. I don't know everything. And I'm still working at it. And I'm still trying to, bring out new and fresh content. And that could be very discouraging when you feel like you don't have what it takes because your numbers aren't meeting your expectations. I just feel like you got to just keep pushing and getting your reps in, man. Don't think of it like, oh, look at this person, they got partner. Oh, look at this person, they got a sponsor. Why not me? You start comparing yourself. That's when you start to fall into this.
I feel like that's the wrong mentality to have as well, isn't it? It's like you should really be celebrating those achievements rather than going, "Why is it not me?"
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, if you have those discussions with yourself where you say, "Why not me?" Well, the reason that it's not you is because you're questioning yourself why it isn't you. You realistically, you need to look at your own. Like I looked at myself. So, for example, I looked at myself content wise, and I realized although some of my gaming videos were good, I wasn't good at gaming, and realistically, sustainability was one of the biggest things for me. I can talk constantly. I could talk and talk and talk, and that made podcast made a lot of sense as soon as I realized that that's what I'm good at. I'm good at talking. I'm good at I'm a nosy bugger. I love to know everything about everyone. So I realized that was what I was good, and that was the way I would find success with content creation. But I had to ask myself that question, and it's not easy to come away from gaming. It really isn't, because I would say 90% of people that get into streaming get in it through gaming of some sorts. So to come away from that, you feel like you're taking a big risk, and it has been. I mean, I've tried multiple things that haven't been gaming. Like I did the Simply quiz I did on Twitch. That was one of my best streams I ever had. Was I did just for Carl, you won't know this one. This is from way back in I think it was in between the first and second pandemic, and it was I came up with this idea where it was I would do 15 general sport questions. I do 15 general football, and then I would come up with a who am I question where I'd say all these players that someone we played with, and they would have to guess who it is, and the whole Twitch chat would get involved. I would put the Twitch on a delay of, I think it was like 30 seconds delay, so that like whoever was on Discord with me doing the quiz at the time, it was kind of like a game show. And it was going really well. The issue I had with it was the sustainability again, because I sometimes spent an entire day making questions for maybe a half an hour stream. So it was like, right, okay, that's a problem. And you talked about it yourself. The amount of work sometimes that goes into it, you've got to ask yourself, is this sustainable? Can I keep doing this? And that again, it's a hard question to ask yourself sometimes. But in the same way, I think I brought up myself in my last video where I talked about my resolutions and the fact that you need to put in the work sometimes, but you also need to be realistic with your goals and expectations. I said to myself in my last video that if I didn't make content creation sustainable by December 31st, I would give it all up. I would sell everything on my desk. I would end the channel. Now, I got a bit of backlash for that because people were telling me, sustainable, well, you're never going to make YouTube content creation profitable in that time. And you know what? You may be right. I might not make it profitable, but it wasn't what I said. I said sustainable. I said for the fact that I needed to be able to justify doing it. So therefore, I need, a little bit of income. I'm not looking for massive amount. I'm looking for enough that covers the cost of, say, the electricity that I'm using. Something that I say is not a burden to do this, and then I can grow from there. But yeah, I got a bit of backlash when I said that to a couple people. And they completely misunderstood what I was saying. But people always have their opinions when it comes to those kind of things. So it is what it is. Content creation is difficult, and it can be one of the things I do love about your stream is like where obviously you have all these content creators in, and a lot of content creators in their own streams wouldn't like what you currently have, where they have a lot of you acknowledge the fact that people are in your stream and these stream themselves. A lot of people don't like the promotion of others, but you seem to love to lift people up and
Yeah.
highlight their content, and that was one of the things I absolutely loved. And I think I think it was like maybe one of the clips that you had in your YouTube shorts where I think it was like you were talking with somebody and they said the fact that probably about 90% or something of Twitch is other streamers.
Yeah.
And you're going that like a lot of your viewers are going to be streamers themselves, so you might as well acknowledge it and have them be your viewers or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly what
level. Yeah.
yeah,
That was what
that was it. Yeah, because that was a good clip. That was a really good clip that you brought up there. And we'll touch on it briefly. Just how was the interview with him again? I know obviously we mentioned it already. Just how was it like talking with? Because obviously I've seen loads of his videos as well.
Yeah. It was amazing. He is so knowledgeable, not just with streaming, but with the profit of making YouTube your primary source of income. And man, he dropped so many gems on that podcast episode. And we could have went longer, man. He loves to talk, and I enjoy that. For the most part, if you watch the episode, I think I might have talked maybe 10 minutes over the hour that we spoke. And that was fine with me because clearly he knows more than me. He's more, depending on what you call successful, financially, he's making more money than I am. Let's put it like that, right? And he has tried things that worked, tried things that didn't work, but the point is that he tried, right? And you mentioned about being sustainable, and that's something that he put into perspective where you can make this sustainable, creating the content and pushing out videos and reaching out to brands, whether even if you're small or large, somebody out there is willing to give you an opportunity. And I think that's the idea where you just never know who's willing to work with you. And shout out to Wes. Wes was really the first person to say, hey, let's reach out to Galavel. And I said, I would love to, but I don't know if he'll work with us. He said, if he says no, he says no. And he sent out the email and he said yes. So working with him was great, man. That whole conversation really resonated with me because it made me change my perspective on creating content and making money on YouTube and that pursuit of making money. The only difference is he does something that I don't typically like to do. He does tutorials. I've done my share of tutorials, and what's crazy, and I'm not even joking, I don't even know where the number is right now. I made 2 videos on a YouTube channel that reached over 60,000 views, right? And it was me literally telling people how they can stream from their M1 Mac Mini, which I learned from Wes. And I did a 5-minute tutorial and people loved it. I hated it. I just did it because my wife kept pushing me like, can you do it already? You're so knowledgeable. Help others, you know? And I said, you're right. I want to help people, but I hate creating that. And then the other video was how I streamed Warzone for my PlayStation, and people still don't watch the video in its entirety. There's so many comments like, how did you stream Warzone on the M1? No. I was playing Warzone on my PlayStation and I streamed from my M1 Mac Mini. My M1 Mac Mini pushed the PlayStation content out to Twitch. And that one, I think almost 100,000 views on that. And it's like, I can make money if I do these kind of videos. Clearly people want to know these things. But the time and effort it takes, and I give so much respect to people that do this, I just don't genuinely like that. I enjoy unboxings. Maybe I could do that and just throw a box in the air and here, look at what I got, and be creative in that way. And that could get views too. And then you work with brands, and Elgato, if you're watching, we're still waiting for you to send back some stuff for me. But anyway,
Elgato, give me a key light because mine's just broken.
Yeah, I love technology. So like to maybe unbox, maybe that's something I should start doing. But yeah, there's money out there to be made, and I think it's just doing it, like just going out there and making the content.
Absolutely. Like the hardest thing sometimes is just pressing record. And obviously, I think there was something that you had in your stream, and I absolutely loved it, but I didn't know how you did it. I'm trying to remember what it was now, because it's now racking my head, and I was like, oh well, if you made a tutorial on how to do that, that would bang. But obviously, you've just said there you don't like doing the tutorial, and you know what? That is fair enough. It's finding that balance as well about what you are good at and what you enjoy doing as well. So it's kind of, if you find that balance, that niche there, that's where you find success. So it was a. I think I did. I think I might have watched one of those videos. I can't remember fully myself if I did or not. I watched a lot of your videos when I was doing my research and whatnot, and just some of them are like. Obviously, I stated before, and the production quality and the editing that you put into it is obviously amazing. Most definitely. And I want to touch on it briefly just before. Obviously, I realize we're near the end. I want to ask about kind of the games that you like to play, because obviously we've mentioned Warzone, but what other games got you into kind of making content? What would you say your favorite kind of games to play are?
I love first-person shooters. I've been addicted to them since Rainbow Six on PC. I've been addicted to SOCOM on PS2. That's not a first-person shooter, but it's a third-person shooter. I love shooting games. Let's put it like that. I love story-based games. Big fan of Metal Gear Solid. Big fan of Max Payne. I love the whole God of War series. Obviously, you see this. I love Warzone, God of War. I love.
Just for clarity, I can't see him right now. He's just probably look at this as like, yeah, absolutely. I guess it's your God of Warzone.
Hoodie that I made. I love The Last of Us. I love single player story based driven games, even like Spider-Man. I just love video games, man. The one thing that I tried and I really can't get into are games like Final Fantasy, and people say, "Oh, you're crazy," and I'm like, I couldn't do it. I tried the remake, I still couldn't do it. I love Resident Evil. Resident Evil is one of my favorite games that nobody can get right, whether it's a movie, a TV show, an animated series. The games are so much better, and I hope that HBO makes a great Last of Us TV show that's going to be coming out soon. I love video games, man. I don't know. I just love it.
Well, I think I mentioned this briefly. You like Pokemon?
Oh yeah. So this is the thing. I love Pokemon. I hate the games. I think I love the Game Boy games more because I think it was a little bit more simpler. I love that they're doing these open world games. But and Nintendo, I know you're watching. I can't stand that you don't have voice actors in your video games. I'm tired of reading the text. It puts me to sleep. By the time I get to the next, badge master or whatever you want to call them, I'm bored. I'm bored already. I want voice acting. Give me cutscenes and let me go on my journey. I love Pokemon, but I hate their games.
Yeah, I think it was one of my biggest pet hates with Arceus Legends was the sheer amount of text that was in the game. Like, I actually love that game, but it brings it down. Like, if I was to rate it, it would bring it down a few notches just because of the beginning, where it's just a sheer, like, genuinely all you're doing is reading. They improved it with the Scarlet and Violet game, where there was less text in that one. But the game itself was very poorly made.
Yeah. Oh my god! Don't get me started.
Yeah. I actually love the game. Like, I should add that the story and the things they tried to do with it are really good, but they've just made it really badly. And it's mad when you look at like the games like Let's Go Pikachu and how well that one's made compared to this Scarlet and Violet. It's like you had it perfect before, but then you've just decided to screw it up there. It's just like, it's sad. It is.
It hurts me.
It's absolutely mental, and it's kind of also where I kind of felt it with Call of Duty a little bit as well. That because I loved the Modern Warfare 2 game. That was the last COD I properly played, and then eventually when it got to like Infinite Warfare, and there were just like all these extra parts, and I was like, oh no, this is too much, man. I couldn't continue to keep playing these.
It turned into Halo. They started flying. I hated that.
Like, I love Halo, but I know what I expect from Halo.
Exactly.
I love Halo. I mean, like when it comes to gaming for myself, it reaches back to the Xbox 360, playing custom games on Halo 3, coming home from school, immediately loading up the Xbox, playing these games that my friends had made on custom games, and they were amazing and had so much fun with that. But unfortunately with this Halo, they took so long with Forge coming out that it's kind of ruined it a bit.
Don't get me started on that.
I feel like if we end up talking about it, we'll be here for significantly longer.
I can talk about anything. That's why I love doing podcasts. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think on that one, I think we'll end the podcast there. Team, if you haven't already, please do check out Lou here. I'll go leave his links in the description below. Obviously, you've just heard about the wonderful person he is, and obviously about his wonderful family as well. So obviously, please go check him out, because you will not regret it. Like I said, I was in his stream for like 5 minutes, and I felt like I was a regular of the stream, so please do check it there. But also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way to the comment section. You know, obviously we're setting about 1,100 subscribers at the moment, so let's just keep rising that number up. We'll keep cooking. Let's keep going all the way up to say 1 million. Yeah, sure, why not? So road to 1 million. Here we go. Obviously as well, thank you for those that have also followed on TikTok, because we also hit 1,000 followers on TikTok. We hit that last night, so just for justification of when we're recording this,
congratulations.
Mate, honestly, I'm a cloud 9 at the moment. You know what's mental as well, that it's also come from me posting 9 days in a row on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts, just 9 days in a row of constantly making sure that I post something, and it is like I noticed the growth just all of a sudden keeps going. And it was mental. That consistency really, really helps. On a platform like TikTok, you post every single day, it will recommend your videos massively. Like I've got one TikTok that's on, like, it's not even that good. It's just a quiz question one, and it's on 12k views. And it's like I said, it took me it generally took me 30 minutes to make. That's record, edit, and upload it in 30 minutes.
Wow.
And it's got 10k views, 12k views, which is generally awesome. mind blowing. So yeah, honestly, thank you so much, everyone. And obviously, I should add, by the way, some of the answers would trigger you a little bit, because obviously you're kind of like me, you're a bit of a nerd when it comes to like games and movies and stuff like that. A lot of people saying Andrew Tate played the Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man film. And I was just like, no, he didn't. So yeah, guys, honestly, thank you so much for the support we've had on these. We're going to see a lot more podcasts coming. I've got a lot more lined up, so please do also stay tuned on the channel for those as well. So guys, thank you so much for the support on this podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.